Vandy lands a commitment from big in-state linebacker as the defense soars in spring practice. Let's get this thing rolling. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Today I break down new Vandy linebacker commit Austin Howard from Bartlett. I explain how the defense is dominating the spring, but on the same token, why you should not be worried about or overly concerned about the offense struggling. And finally, Vandy nabs a huge series win on the road at LSU. Pause for dramatic pause, I should say. So thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, big event today, later on, as you see this. The solar eclipse is coming through. And if you're in the path of totality, we hope you enjoy that. And we hope you're doing everything to stay safe. And my biggest piece of advice is don't look up unless you're wearing glasses. So we're doing a big thing at my school. So that's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great event. So the solar eclipse, that's massive. What's also massive is Vandy lands a big time commitment from in-state linebacker, or really outside linebacker, to be specific, Austin Howard. He's from Bartlett High School in Memphis, Tennessee. So now you're probably saying to yourself, why is this a big deal, right? He's just a 3-star. But looking at his film, okay? Looking at his film, he may be a 3-star, but he may only be a 3-star because he plays football in Memphis at Bartlett. And that may not, sometimes like circumstances, watching him play, I don't see a whole lot of holes in his game. I mean, 6'3", 225. He is an absolute he's an athlete. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he had a really long touchdown catch when he played offense. I mean, he kind of does a little bit of everything. He had 83 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 14 sacks, 2 pass breakups, a pick, 4 forced fumbles, 25 pressures, and he's blocked 3 field goals. I mean, the guy's freaking everywhere. And you have to think that Clark Lea is just licking his chops when he comes down to him. I mean, you watch the film of this guy, and he's like, okay, well, this guy can line up, come off the edge. I mean, the guy's physical. He has a great first step. I mean, he's off the line of scrimmage in a hurry. He has really good, strong hands. I like the way he uses his hands. I like the way he accelerates. It's like on swing passes and things like that. I like the way he accelerates to the ball. When you watch him play, his anticipation is really good. I think he does a good job of fighting with offensive linemen. I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at his film and I'm trying to figure out kind of where a lot of his weaknesses are and what he doesn't do well. And I'm trying to see, well, okay, he's explosive off the ball. Check. Okay. He's a really good tackler. Okay. Check. He's physical. Okay. Check. I guess I'm just going to have to watch all the 4-stars and 5-stars to kind of figure out what the difference is, because I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. And it's going to be hard to say that he doesn't fit in Clark Lea's scheme. I mean, I think he's somebody that is an absolute perfect fit for what Clark Lea wants to do. I mean, the edge players in Clark Lea's defense kind of dictate what he's able to do from a play caller standpoint. And this guy, Austin Howard, gives you a lot of versatility because he's so good against the run. He's physical. If he's going to play into the boundary, he probably needs to put on a little bit of weight, and he more likely will. He's 6'3", 225. He's got a good frame to do so without losing much speed. But, if he's going to play at Vanderbilt as a freshman, he's going to have to play at probably 240 to have a chance at least. And some of these edge guys are getting up as high as like 260 with like Corday Sindor, who's been absolutely outstanding in spring practice. That's for later. But when you look at how that happens, and when you look at how Austin Howard plays, I mean, he just, like I said, he just jumps off the page at you. And this is a really, really good pickup. And this shows you a number of things. Okay. This shows you that, we're starting to really kind of build some relationships at some of these big name high schools. Like Bartlett's not in the state of Tennessee. Bartlett is not a nobody. They play in a really good league out in Memphis. They play with Houston and Germantown, who are two really good programs in the state of Tennessee at the highest classification. Bartlett's not anything to shrug at. So I think when you look at getting some inroads with some of these programs that you probably haven't ever had inroads with, like in years past, this guy would have been a lock for Ole Miss probably, as good as he is, or like somebody on that part of the country. But when you look at him being able to, Vanderbilt being able to get in the picture with him has been really, really good. I mean, it shows you that, there's some NIL stuff probably behind this. Like, hey, you come here. This is kind of what we're thinking NIL wise. There's probably some things of like, okay, this is how we're going to use you on this defense. Like you're going to be versatile. You're going to be kind of all over the place. You're going to be rushing the passer. You're going to be dropping into coverage. You're going to be here, there, everywhere. You're going to be on special teams. Like we're going to take your ability to run, and we're going to take advantage of that. And that's probably that's a big advantage in recruiting for Clark Lea taking over the defense, is that he's now able to like really showcase what these guys are able to do. And I think that's important for guys to see kind of how they're projected at the next level, for them to, know exactly what they're getting into. So that's really good. And then of course, with Harding Harper and he's the director of scouting. I think this is another kind of feather in his cap, so to speak. And this is something that he can point to and say, okay, we've done a really good job evaluating. Like I feel like that they targeted this kid. Like I didn't know that this kid was much on the radar. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's committed. Like I think they did a good job of identifying him and really kind of putting the press on him and saying, okay, this is an important position of need for us, and we've got to have dynamic guys in this spot, and we're going to stop at nothing to get you on campus and to get you to realize, okay, this is our vision. This is our vision for you. And that's impressive. All those things in place lead me to believe that this isn't the same 2-10 Vanderbilt team that you're used to. Okay. This is not the overhaul. This is another piece of evidence that the overhaul is working. And that might be the actual story here. The overhaul is working. So stay tuned for this. This is a big, big commitment. And this is somebody that can really make an impact for this defense. So I'm excited for it. And honestly, you should be too. So Austin Howard, man, if you're listening to this, which I'm going to tag you, if you're listening to this, you're more than welcome to come on the show. I'd love to have you talk about why you chose Vanderbilt, talk about what your options were, and really kind of chop it up with you. So, but I'm excited about it, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I think this is a guy that can really make a difference here for the Commodores. So Austin Howard, big time commit, linebacker out of Bartlett. Excited to have him on board. But when we get back, how he fits into this defense is going to be awesome. And speaking of defense, they are dominating. That's been the story of spring practice so far, is that Clark Lea's done a phenomenal job with this defense, and he's done a phenomenal job at building something that can be a nightmare for opposing teams. We'll talk about that here next. All right, LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, what makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy that, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is also constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. So 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. Welcome back. That's right. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. A free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So defense, okay, stop me if you've heard this one. Okay, you ready for this? I'm about to blow your mind here. Defense dominates spring practice. Defense is ahead of offense. Oh, it's a big revelation, isn't it? No. That's pretty much the story just about everywhere. It's no different at Vanderbilt. So I think, okay, and defense is dominant, and you really shouldn't worry about the offense. I mean, a lot of people are like overly concerned, like, well, that's fun while it lasted. This offense is going to be terrible. The offensive line struggled in a scrimmage and yada, yada, yada. Okay. So I honestly, I don't think you should worry all that much, truthfully. And I don't think you should worry until you get boat raced by Virginia Tech. Then, okay, we'll talk about worrying then. Okay, let's make sure that Alabama's not rolling us right out of the construction site, like 59-0. Okay, then we can start worrying a little bit, right? You get to like week 5 and you haven't scored a point. Okay, then we can raise the red flags then. Okay, all right, but until then, first scrimmage, spring practice, I wouldn't overly worry right now. I mean, is there concerns? Yes. Absolutely. Do you want your offensive line to be struggling? No, you never want them to struggle. But that's part of like development, though, like struggling in practice, things like that. So I say all that. I don't want to really take away from the defense yet. Okay. So so here's what I'm going to do. Okay. So this is like a 2-pronger here. Defense is lights out, dude. I love that. But it comes at the price of the offense struggling a little bit, and there's factors there. So we'll talk about the defense first, okay? This is impressive. Okay, the defense is awesome. Okay, they won the day yet again. They're physical along the defensive line. I've been hearing, and this is all based on our guys, I'm reacting to Billy Derrick. That's my guy. I'm a Rivals guy at heart. I used to work there. That's where I spent 12 years of my life working for the Rivals.com national team. So Chris Lee, Billy Derrick, those are my guys, right? The VandySports.com is my preferred Vandy site to get information. So I am forever grateful for the information they provide that I can react to. So here's what they've provided that I can react to. Okay. All of the information that I'm reacting to is presented by them. Okay. I'm just giving you my opinion on what they're sharing. So Corday Sindor is crushing it, dude. And we talked about Deo Odengbo. There you go. Deo Odengbo. We talked about him in the EA Sports cover series that I did a few weeks ago and how impactful he was as a defensive end and a defensive lineman. Corday Sindor is, well, he's right there with him. And he's getting those comparisons. He is absolutely killing it, man. And he's even kind of getting in there and talking a little bit of trash too. And I told you guys from the minute he jumped on what kind of impact he was going to have. He's that bigger presence off the edge. He's the guy that is there in the run game because he's 6'4", 260. And he's going to be that guy that's athletic enough and big enough and fast enough to really be a force in the pass rush too. So like he's somebody that I'm really excited about that can impact the game in a bunch of different ways. And I think that's what the biggest buzz is about, is because he can do that. He can play into the boundary and come off the edge. He can loop around to the field, and he can cover space a little bit. He can do a lot of different things. And that's why the versatility is why he is somebody that should excite you if you like defense. He's somebody that should be a guy to watch. And I'm excited about that. The defensive line, they're rotating a lot, which is good. They're trying to get a lot of guys, a lot of different work. And I think this is going to be the unit, which no disrespect to any of the guys there, but Javon Hay is going to have his work cut out for him this season because he's got a lot of, like, I don't want to say no-namers, but like there's no superstars there. There's no guy on this defensive line where you're just like, that's the guy. You know, that's the dude. Like Georgia had with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, like Nebraska had with Ndamukong Suh, you know, what Pitt had with Aaron Donald, like that type of thing, where you just look at the defensive line and you're just like, oh, okay, that's the guy. Okay, we're going to build around that guy, and everything's going to be okay because they ain't going to run on us and they're not going to throw on us because that guy's going to push the pocket and he's going to be a dominant front force, right? Vandy doesn't have that. So they're going to have to be rotational. They're going to have to keep guys in there fresh, and they're going to have to move a lot, which is kind of a cornerstone of what Clark Lea's defense does anyway. They're going to move. And the movement is what's going to put them in position to succeed. The movement is what's going to give them angles. The movement is going to give them a chance to be disruptors, which they're not. This group is not good enough to be readers. They're not good enough to be guys that sit there and say, okay, we're just going to read this thing out and we're going to play straight up ball. That's not them. That's not their game. And that's totally okay. And that's probably going to have to be how they go. So I'm excited about that. The defensive line is very scrappy, very, very scrappy. And that will do them a lot of favors there. And then lastly about this defense, I think one thing you should look forward to is the use of the defensive backs, especially the guys in the middle. But one of the names I've really kind of heard standing out a little bit on the defensive side of the ball is Colby Taylor. I've heard his name and the word juice. I've heard his name and the word energy. Like he's bringing the energy. And I said from the minute he committed, I said that having a big 6'4" guy out there no matter how raw he is, that's a problem for opposing offenses. You look out there, you just look out there and you see a guy that's excited to play football and he's 6'4". That's a problem. That's an absolute problem. So anyway, I'm excited about that. This defense is going to be good, guys. It's going to be good. They're going to make some big plays. Now, are they going to give up some big plays? Yeah, probably so. They're probably going to give up some big plays. It's going to happen. So it's just a matter of, can they, limit that, and can they bounce back from that? Can the offense bounce back from that? So that's a good segue to there. We'll break down this defense more and more as we go, and more to the summer. This is not the last of the defensive talk, I promise you. So let's talk offense, okay? You shouldn't worry. I know you're worried. I know everybody listening is like, I know I'm going to get in the comment section. This offense is terrible. We have no offensive line. Oh, my God. Well, let's get one thing straight. It's a brand new system. And I don't think the defensive system is new, because I think ultimately it was Clark Lea's system for the most part. And those guys, defense is more of a reaction side of the ball. So they're naturally always going to be ahead of the offense because the offense works so much with timing. But one of the things that, again, the quarterbacks were shaky in the scrimmage. Okay. The offensive line struggled. They couldn't handle the movement. And some of that stuff. I think you have some of the backs couldn't get going. You couldn't quite, the connections with the receivers and the quarterbacks weren't there, but when they were there, they were pretty good. There's some things that you look at and you go, okay, this offense, okay, same old deal. The offensive line struggles. We're not going to win if we don't have a good offensive line. I get it, right? Okay. First of all, they've been going against this defense all freaking spring. They know each other. Okay? It's install stuff. They're just learning. They're getting used to a new coach, a new way of doing things, and guys that really haven't had a whole lot of playing time to begin with are out there for the vast majority of them. There's some that are returning starters, but there's some guys out there that really haven't played a whole lot of football at the college level. So you're dealing with some fresh guys in there. Your starting quarterback, I love these guys, but they're not seizing the opportunity right now. Nate Johnson is raw. He can run, but he's raw, man. He is raw. And in the pocket, he looks almost lost at times. He throws really good on the run, as I predicted. But this quarterback room is shaky, and that's not surprising. This lends to the fact more and more that Diego Pavia, I think as the days go on, you're going to, I think we're all going to realize, and as much as I can make a case for Nate Johnson or Blaise Berlowitz or Drew Dickey, I think it's going to be Pavia in 24. I think he's going to be that bridge guy, because I'm not saying these guys are bad. I'm just saying they're just not ready. They just need more time to develop. They just need more reps. And Pavia is going to provide that bridge, whether it's 1 game, 12 games, whatever. He's going to provide that bridge for them. And it's a good thing for Vanderbilt. It's a good thing for those guys. And I don't know what will happen with this position group. I don't know what will happen with the quarterback room, but it'll be interesting. This race is far from over. I don't think anybody's going to judge anything from the very first scrimmage. And I'd be willing to bet the offense, you'll see a vast improvement with the offensive line from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2. Some guys you should really be excited about. Some guys that when you're looking at offense, if you have a really good tight end, I think Georgia proved this. If you have a really good tight end, you can do some things. Cole Spence is a really good tight end. Tyler Fortenberry is going to be a really good tight end. Cole Spence is getting a lot of targets. Be excited about that. He's back. He's a massive, massive person, massive tight end. So that's going to be fun. Quincy Skinner, I think, is going to be a name that you should start to memorize a little bit, because that guy's going to be good. Junior Sherrill's going to be good. I think your running back, Cedric Alexander, is going to be somebody that you need to kind of get to know a little bit because I think he's going to be running back number one. So you're going to have some good stuff there. But, this team is far from constructed. They were 2-10 a year ago. I don't think you expect to light the world on fire in your first spring scrimmage when you don't have your presumed starting quarterback, when you don't have a lot of things in place offensively. Like, you're still working through very early installs. So just keep a lot of those factors in mind. You shouldn't worry. You should not worry. But defense is going to continue to improve. I think overall everyone's going to get bigger, faster, stronger, even through the summer. I'm excited about this team. I'm still on the bowl train. I'm still on it. You can't stop it. I'm still on the bowl train. Unless there's a massive rash of injuries, I'm still on the bowl train. So that being said, baseball, we're gonna flip over to baseball in just 1 minute. All right, welcome back. We're going to wrap this thing up here pretty soon. It's the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your second listen each and every day. So, talking baseball, okay? Talking baseball. If you watch this series and you said that, if you watched Vandy play on the road at South Carolina, okay, you watched him play on the road Thursday night at LSU. If you would have told me that this team would win this series, I would have said, you're freaking crazy. You are crazy. You're crazy, brother. Right? And I would have never guessed that they would have taken the next two games. I would have definitely never guessed that they would have run ruled LSU on the road. And would have never guessed that they could figure it out. Because at South Carolina, they didn't. But I guess that's why you keep playing. I guess that's why you keep developing. I guess that's called learning from your mistakes, which is good. But Vandy yesterday run-ruled LSU on Saturday. There was the rubber match. Tim Corbin decided to start Braden Holcomb. Braden Holcomb said, "Thank you for letting me start. I'm gonna mash 2 home runs for you in a series finale against a really, really good baseball team." And Carter Holton was absolutely electric. The pitching staff, I think, overall was really, really good. Carter Holton. Carter Holton struck out 10 in 6 innings. He was amazing for the Commodores, and he was somebody that he was just dealing, dude. He had his 4th consecutive quality start. He's 5-0. He had in 6 innings, he allowed 2 earned runs. He struck out 10. And he's had 10 or more strikeouts in 3 of his last 5 starts, has 8 or more in 6 of his 7 starts. So he's turning into the ace. He might, I think this is going to be a role that he is. I don't know if it's just he's the Saturday guy, no matter if it's the series finale or the second game of the series on a Saturday. But if this is any indication, the last 2 series have been, the series finale has been played on Saturday, and he's been the starting pitcher. So maybe he's going to be the game 3 guy from here on out. And if he is, I certainly think he's earned it. And this further drives home my point that pitching has really, really provided the much needed spark for this Vanderbilt baseball team, because the bats came alive finally. And I think that sometimes when you struggle at the plate, it can really kind of affect what you do. And eventually pitching will falter if you continue to struggle at the plate. I think this finally got some things woken up. I think, getting almost ran out of the building on Thursday, kind of woke this team up a little bit and said, okay, we've got to clean up because they made a bunch of errors. Pitching was kind of a quagmire, I guess. They just couldn't quite get things together. And they started to kind of figure things out later in that game, but they just kind of got together and, well, they wore what they call gangster pajamas, the black on black pinstripes. I don't know. I can't get into those uniforms. I just don't like those. I just don't. I don't like black pants for baseball. I really don't. But I don't have to wear them, thankfully. But McIlvain had a really nice outing on Friday after coming in relief, and Camden Kozel is back. He's making a run. He's making some noise again. Braden Holcomb is really kind of hitting the ball really well. He's seeing the ball really well. So, just overall, I think this team is playing really good complementary baseball. And for them, I think the most important thing to come out of this is they settled down and pitched well on the road. They settled down and they hit the baseball. They put the baseball into play on Friday and Saturday. And I think they got some good results out of it because they have some guys that have some pop. They have some guys that can run. And when this lineup is on, they're on. When they're off, they're off. There's really no in between here. It's kind of like a big giant roller coaster at the plate. And pitching has been the only thing that's remained constantly good for this team. I think every once in a while there's a blip, but that's college baseball. But this has been a team that, I think they're poised to make a run. I think they're getting some really, really good wins. I think they're getting some really good reps as far as, having to hold guys off in the night, exploding to a run rule type game, getting, they've had a couple of games where teams have gotten a really big lead on them and they've come back. One of them, they completed the comeback and got the win. Thursday night, they couldn't quite, it wasn't quite enough. It was too little too late type of thing. But they've learned now to win on the road, because I think unless you're hosting a regional, I think you have to learn how to win on the road, and you have to learn how to, go to somewhere like Wake Forest and win the regional, or you have to go somewhere like Tallahassee and win, or maybe you just play well enough in the regular season to be able to host a regional. Who knows? But it's one of those things where I think they're just getting a lot of good situational development here with a lot of the games that they've been in. They've been in games where they've started off sluggish and they had to wake up and play. They've been in games where they've been on from minute one. They've been in games where they've been on, they had a hot start, fell apart, and had to keep it together. They've been in games, unfortunately, where they've started good, fell apart, and then of course the games where nothing seems to work and they just get shelled, which they've been in a couple of those games too. And so this is all great development for this team. They've handled all these situations. They've had some relative youth out there too, handling these situations. So that's even more promising for this team. So again, as the season unfolds, it'll be very, very fascinating to see kind of how they respond as they go through the schedule and as they navigate all of this stuff. And they got MTSU coming up on Tuesday, and then from there they are at College Station. So another kind of hostile road environment where, I don't know if you guys know this, but Texas A&M is ranked 3rd in the country. So it's not an easy place. It's a really tough place to play, and you're playing against a really good baseball team. So this will be a test of, this will be their first really big test. Well, their first big test to see if they were ready was this past weekend, and I think they passed. They've got to continue to that gauntlet. Middle Tennessee is a really good baseball program, and Texas A&M is a great baseball program. So that'll be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. So we'll see how the pitching unfolds there. We'll get you ready for that as we go on this week. But we're going to leave you there. Tuesday is Bark in the Park, Vandy Boys dog bandana giveaway. So make sure you're in the park for that. But we're going to do it here. That's going to do it for us here at the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. We hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Enjoy the solar eclipse. Enjoy it safely. Don't look up unless you have those glasses. But follow us on social media. Thank you to the everydayers. You make all of this possible. Continue to follow. Continue to build the brand. We're going to do it. We'll check you here tomorrow. And until then, anchor down.